Star producer and very, very recent, just as of this morning, Indie Spirit nominee, Amy Adams.
Thank you guys for coming. Let me get my mic on here. I'm at that point where I can't admit I need glasses, so I'm always maybe like that. There we go. Thank you so much. Thank you guys.
So, Amy, you were attached to this project before the book was even published.
Yeah, I got an early copy of it from my, I've worked with her before, Sue Nagel at Annapurna, and she brought me the book and sort of was like, do you think there's a movie here? And I was like, yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this. Yeah.
I can't even imagine what most struck you the first time you read the book, because there's so much in it.
I think I knew that I connected with the idea, and I think when I started reading the book and I saw, I think the first time when she slaps her husband, I was like, oh, this book is deeper than just a tale of transformation and a tale of, as it has been, reductively said, a woman who turns into a dog. It's so much deeper than that, and I really loved that opportunity to kind of delve into relationships and delve into identity, and it does with such great humor and such great heart. So I think that's what really got me, was when I understood sort of the broad spectrum of universality that the story could bring and tell.
But also, it sounds a little scary. You're exposing a lot about what being a woman is, and I think people will automatically assume that you're exposing something about your life as a woman. So when
yeah.
So what was scary about it, and probably on the flip side, what's most exciting about that?
I never really thought of it as scary because, we live it every day. For me, it was just being able to breathe life into something that felt really honest and really true, and do it with people that were so invested in kind of getting an honest sort of reflection of this woman's life. And also, like with Mari, when we went to her, had just had a baby, and she put so much of her own stories and her own experiences into this. So for me, I felt like I wasn't just telling my stories, so I think I felt a little protected in that. I felt like I was encompassing Rachel and Mari and so many other women I've talked to and have known.
So it sounds like it was a pretty easy, quick yes for you on this one, but I'm curious about what is your sort of internal gauge when you were reading something or talking about something that makes you think, I want to do this, I can do it, here's how I'm going to do it.
They're three different moments. If it's something that really connects with me deeply and I feel like I can get into it in a kind of cellular way, then that's something I want to engage in. In the process of doing it and trusting that I can do it, a lot of that just comes down to preparation and conversations and going into it, really understanding the character and the story and the life of the character I'm embracing. So a lot of that comes down to preparation. And I never, I know every first day that I walk on set, I'm like, I hope I can do this. It's the moment before you open your mouth in the very first scene, I'm sure you guys know, where you're like, okay, I'm gonna hear her voice for the first time, and what is it going to feel like? And there's a little bit of faith involved, and also trusting the people around you and creating a creative community around you that support you.
So you mentioned your wonderful writer and director, Mariel Heller. As a producer, you were part of the search to pick out this director, and I think I read an interview with you today with our own Ann Thompson at IndieWire,
she's great.
Where you mentioned Mari was top of your list, and you're a shoot for the moon kind of gal.
Yeah, I was like, well, Mari's my first choice, and so the search basically was like, let's call Mari, and she at the time again had just had a child. And everyone's like, oh, I don't know if she's really reading anything. And I was like, if she just had a child, please get her to read this. And she really understood it in such a deep way. Not only that, but the way that she approaches genre and tone, she has a fearless approach to tone and genre, and isn't afraid to take sort of tonal shifts and leaps that have been exciting to me to watch over the years. So I knew that with material like this, she would be fearless in her approach.
What were some of your first conversations with her about sort of imagining what this was going to look like, down to, you don't ever really turn into a dog, but and I think that's
do I? No, I know what you're saying. There isn't like a big like American Werewolf in London transformation. We did do one that was a little more violent, but she never wanted it to feel like the transformation was painful. She wanted it to feel like the transformation was powerful, and that as she gets more in touch with her feral self, she really develops a lot of power, and she starts to feel invigorated. So she sort of went away from the more graphic transformation because it seemed too painful for to embody the strength that the character was feeling at the time.
When you're an actor and a producer, how do you wear those two hats like every day on set? Or is it, you go on to set and you're Amy actress, and then what's that like for you?
Well, a lot of the work that I did with Mari was while she was writing it and beforehand, and then Mari, one of the things I really like to do is bring together the creative team, and Mari has such a creative team, and I love being a part of casting. Once we're on set, I really like to be a part of problem solving when necessary, but for the most part, I like to step back and I never want to be obstructive to Mari's vision. That was never sort of anything I was interested in. So really just being a part of like setting the tone on set and creating a really positive work environment.
One of the things we've talked about a little bit before is Mari has, I don't know if any of you have read the novel, it's incredible. Mari's changed the ending a little bit.
She has, yeah.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about those changes and where that came from.
Sure. Mari really wanted, there were some things that she really wanted to see, like the fight isn't in the book, but she really wanted to see the mother and father sort of express the unspoken, because the book is so internal, of course. It spends a lot of time inside of the mother's brain. The whole thing is just completely from her perspective. So she really wanted to sort of bring that fire and that relationship and bring that to a point, but also she really wanted to see, she says this, so this is Mari, she really wants to see a man apologize on film. So she sort of wrote that. I know, Mari's fantastic. She has a lot to say and I love listening to her. But she really wanted to see an authentic apology that included love and accountability and promise and leave you with something optimistic for the future.
You do something that I think the W.C. Fields quote is about never working with dogs or children, and you do both.
Yeah.
What kind of preparation do you, you are a mother, so probably the kids a little easier. Let's talk about the kids, and then we have to talk about the dogs, especially Juno, who's you.
I don't think there's any way to prepare to work with animals and children. I think that's kind of the gift of it, is it makes everything so immediate and present, and so the challenge that it presents also becomes the greatest strength of it, which is you have to just be very focused and very present. Mari did a wonderful job in working with these children. We wanted to make everything play, and so there was a lot of engagement with the kids while we were working, but after cut we would stay engaged and keep them invested and include them. We just became a real family unit, the whole crew. It was actually really special, and we all really just adored them, and I think they did a wonderful job. They were 3. They had just turned 3. I know, and they were just so open to play, and it reminded me to bring play back into my work, and was something important for me to remember.
So Mari's talked a lot about, we were just talking with Mari about casting Juno, who is Amy's avatar, dog avatar, and she's obviously a beautiful red husky. There's not many red huskies that act because they're kind of crazy, but Mari
They're
found...
lively. Yes, I'm curious. Yeah.
So what, did you even have like a kind of dog in mind that you could turn into?
No, I think Mari had that in mind pretty early on, and so I always sort of understood it. I know the eyes were really important for her, having the blue eye match to sort of sell the transformation, and so I knew it would be a limited dog selection, but It was great because Juno, there weren't any working red huskies, and so they found Juno in a shelter and rescued her and trained her for 5 months, and she was just a wonderful dog.
man.
Yeah, and then they adopted her, the trainers adopted her, so, yeah. So, for all the dog lovers out there, Juno was well loved, yeah.
What was it like you and Juno don't appear on the screen together. What was it like the first day you met Juno on set?
Well, Mari tells it that it was like this strange, sort of surreal spiritual experience for everyone, and for me, I was just like, cool, let's play. I was like wrestling with her, and it was just lovely. She was just a beautiful, sweet, kind dog. I'm kind of a dog lover, so for me, that's the hardest part of working with dogs. Is like, yeah, there's the challenge of the trainers. Like anytime we're in a scene, the trainers, like if there's one dog, then there's one trainer. If there's 12 dogs, there's 12 trainers, and they're all calling to their specific dogs. So it'll be like, Lucy, no, sit, stay, and like, so Mari tells the story that when she was editing the film, it's just funny because there's just a completely different soundtrack of trainers that you guys never hear, but I'd like to hear that cut.
You get to act with some other dogs. What was fun or scary about that? Because they are also very professional.
They were very professional. No, the hardest thing is not just petting them and playing with them, really. They were also well trained, and we worked with, really top tier trainers. And but again, you have to stay flexible because the dogs aren't always going to do what you need them to do. So you have to kind of be on point and bring your best game so that you can stay focused and do as many takes as the dogs need, or you need, actually. Sometimes they were more efficient than I was, I imagine.
So you finished the film almost 2 years ago.
Right.
What was it like waiting to finally give this to the world and see the response that people are having to it?
It's when we weren't able to put it out last year, I know we were a little disappointed, but I always see things like that as a gift, and I think we're in a time that this message resonates even more deeply than it might have last year. So I'm really happy that we had that time, but I'm also I've changed and grown so much because of this film. So I'm really happy to be out here talking about it because it really did sort of instigate a lot of changes that I've made in my life and how I approach myself.
And we've talked about this a little bit. I know people share a lot of stories with you after they see this film. A lot of women, a lot of men. I'd like to have you share some of them, and then I'd like to know what it's like to sort of take on this sort of extra emotion after you've exerted yourself on the screen and having to bring it into a room.
It really touches my heart, to be honest, because I've had this with a couple of my other films where people share extremely personal stories about things they've gone through in their own life. And I feel grateful if I've done a film that helps people feel seen or helps them talk about things that they've been through. With this one, there's so many stories people have shared with me that have touched me, whether it's about aging and about feeling insignificant or invisible, whether it's about their own process through mental health challenges postpartum, whether it's about humorous stories about relationships and sort of how they identify with a couple. It's been really wonderful, and I feel like it's a real gift to do a film that gets to speak to people in that way.
I guess that's the dream, like a film that people want to talk about afterwards.
That's fantastic. I mean, I welcome conversation, I welcome criticism. I sometimes wish people who had critical thoughts of the film would talk to me, because I would love that conversation as well. I'd love to hear, I love all points of view, so.
As I said before, you also...
Let me change that. I welcome all points of view. I love all points of view, but I do welcome them. How's that go overstate?
That's a good question. As someone who you acted in the film, you produced the film, how has this changed maybe some of the things that you want to produce going forward? I know that that's such a new, interesting part of your career, and the projects that you produced are very varied and emotional and interesting, but how are you choosing those projects, and how is this sort of maybe showing you a way toward the kind of work you want to do in that space?
Yeah, I think I'm also interested in producing for other people, and very much sort of how I've approached my career is project by project, but I'm interested in all genres. I love family films, I love YA, I love sci-fi. I mean, I've been able to I'm lucky enough to work in those genres, so I'm interested in exploring all genres, but I always want to come back to intimate stories and any story that has a real connection to truth is something I'm attracted to.
I think that's all we've got time for.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you guys for coming.